The world is a wild place. I can't believe we're actually here doing this. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Let's talk about it. I took my time watching this. I think that's the best way to do it. Not to watch something and run on Twitter for the first hot take. I wanted to enjoy myself this weekend and slowly digest it. And I have a lot to say. This is a divisive thing. The whole Snyderverse, the DC thing is very divisive. Please don't leave. I'm very much looking forward to having some constructive conversations with you guys in the comments, because this is always a hot one. Wow, I don't even know where to begin with this. Maybe some context first. I try and do that with these. For history's sake, Man of Steel came out. I really, really liked it. I borderline loved it. I think it's a great movie. I understand, though, why it's not the ideal representation or presentation of Superman for some people. Because these characters are so vast, everybody's going to want something a little bit different from them. And there were some issues, and I totally understood them. But overall, as a package, the music, the visuals, the character stuff, I just liked where it was going. I was into it, and I was excited for the next thing, so that by the time Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice was a thing, I was all in, dude. I went to the fan screening preview thing with Zack Snyder, and then when I saw the movie, I wasn't crazy about it. I didn't hate it, but there were some things it did I didn't really like. It was a little all over the place, and I found myself over time, though, really appreciating talking about it. I love talking about it with my friends, debating things. I've realized that I like the ideas, the concepts that BVS tried to at least explore with these characters that I love, and that I always just enjoy seeing new interpretations of them, even if they fall flat on their face. The way I look at it, hey, you tried something. I'm glad that it exists out in this universe, which I really think other fandoms should embrace. I think it's like a thing that comic book people are built to understand and withstand and get over. But BVS was okay. The extended cut was better. I still think it has some memorable moments, and I like going back and watching certain things here and there. But then, of course, Justice League came around, and I feel like we all know the story with that. I forgot the movie, immediately. After that, I kind of moved on with my life and embraced every DC movie for what it was, its own separate little thing in a bubble. And I like that they've been doing that. But now we're here. What the fuck? I still can't believe this happened. Now, I want to save you guys. I feel like if you're coming here, you might know the whole story behind the Snyder Cut, the fans that rallied behind this thing that was seemingly a myth for the longest time became a thing after, the story of the very messy development behind this movie. People explain it all way better than me. I just kind of want to talk about how I feel about it because, wow, yes, straight up, of course, I think this is pretty obvious. You can't deny it's better. It's much better. I think it's a very enjoyable movie as a whole. It's way more cohesive, and I think that's the biggest thing. You don't have studio meddling. You don't have, script changes, reshoots, another director coming in. It's just another Zack Snyder joint. There's some big problems I have with it, but I think at the end of the day, chalk this up as a W. I think this is a win, especially for fans who are super into Batman vs. Superman, super into Man of Steel, super into just Zack Snyder in general. Yeah, this is pretty cool. I think with the whole thing culturally too, it's interesting. I think people love a story, and they liked Zack Snyder's story. I'm not saying the story he's putting in the film, because a bunch of other people worked on this, of course, but I'm talking about the story of the development of this movie and his involvement. So, that being a story, I'm happy to see that this is where it landed. It's out, it's good. I don't necessarily want anything more from this. I think it's dude, this is done and dusted. But the beginning, most notably, I say the beginning, it's 4 hours. So the first 2 hours, I think, are massive improvements, just really strong overall, because they spend so much time developing every single thing about this movie, so much backstory, so much exposition, but a lot of it is done in that cool, stylized Zack Snyder style that was kind of chopped up here and there in the last version. This is something I've learned about a lot of Zack Snyder directed movies. I really like the beginning, and then it kind of devolves into craziness, but that's fine here because the beginning's really good, and just down to certain scenes, like the Bruce Wayne searching for Arthur Curry, Aquaman, and meeting him. That whole thing, way more broadened here, way more interesting, way less chopped up, and just kind of that was a scene where I remember watching the Joss Whedon Justice League and being wow, holy fuck, they really messed around with this scene. Now it is just this thing presented, and it seems like a cool character moment. and it worked. And I think you could say that for a lot of the story going forward. And I think they just took that with this whole thing and were able to do that throughout in really interesting ways. Little things here and there I miss. Like there's less like Zack Snyder weird music choices. If you've seen any of his movies, you know he kind of like always does these weird inspired choices of music. There's a couple here and there. I really liked the Song to the Siren cover. That was really sweet. The whole extended Flash sequence was really great. They did a lot with Flash here. Well, they really did a lot with a lot of the characters in terms of like having fun with them as like comic book fans. I don't know if, you know, this Barry Allen is really like the ideal Barry Allen, but I think he's entertaining. I think he's funny. I like the way they do him. I like the way they present and portray the Speed Force, stuff like that. But there's just a lot of scenes like with him, with Cyborg, with side characters that I kept watching and going, holy shit, I can't believe they had to cut this. I can't believe they didn't put this in the movie. But looking back, like, they had a lot of stuff they had to cut. Like, this is a lot. But still, what the other thing I feel like a lot of people are saying out there, Cyborg stole the show here. They gave him way more here, and now it really feels like a full arc, and it works, especially because I thought what was really interesting is that they kind of set him up as like this Superman parallel. He was kind of presented with this thing with his father where it was more father issues than Superman's almost like having too many father figures. But again, it was like a character with these powers. He was scared, he was afraid, and he's being kind of raised or taught by his father, guiding him and helping instruct him what he could do with these things. And then you have Cyborg seemingly looking out over the data of the entire world, kind of being like Superman, where Superman can hear everything and see everything. Cyborg can on the digital front, and that's overwhelming. And the movie did a good job of kind of giving you that parallel. It was like, oh, cool, this is like Superman, and this is like the next generation, like robot Superman in a way. Just a cool way to present Cyborg. Wonder Woman, oh boy. Wonder Woman is where I get a little weird. This is another thing, I just like talking to some friends and stuff who watched it. People were like, oh man, dude, Wonder Woman's so much better here. It's like, why don't they make her like this in the movies? I didn't find her to be that different. I just found her to hit a couple of more dudes, and now the dudes would hit the wall and blood would splatter on the wall, which I was like, I know this is like Zack Snyder's thing. This is his vision. It's cool. But I'm not like looking for that. I'm not looking for these characters with bloodlust, so to speak. Still, I think it was cool. And I said it then, and I'll say it now. I think that bank scene in the beginning with Wonder Woman, was it a bank? I don't know what it was. But with Wonder Woman, her intro scene in the beginning, it's like the coolest shit ever. Regardless of if it has a little extra gore or more hits. That's just an awesome scene. Let's talk, oh boy, Martian Manhunter. Oh, where do I even start? I don't know. So, Martian Manhunter is a character that I was pretty pumped to see. Like, that leading up to this, they were like, he's gonna be in it. He made the cut. The way he pops up, I think, kind of detracts from the original moment and its intention. It's between Lois Lane and Martha Kent, and it's kind of like, hey, you can do it. Get your life back together. And then Martha Kent leaves, and then transforms into Martian Manhunter. I actually out loud was like, what? Like, I wish I had the recording of me, like, actually reacting to this movie. Very cool, and I think with, like, Swanwick kind of having a tie to Lois Lane, you can kind of make the connection there where he would be looking out for her, but that also just undid what would have been a nice character moment between Lois Lane and Martha Kent, you know, Superman's two people. It all comes down to the same problem that the original one had, was that, like, Steppenwolf is whatever. At the very least, I can appreciate that this version gave Steppenwolf, like, actually a little bit of motive. Like, he had nothing. Like, no character moments at all in the previous cut. So it was nice that he got a little bit more, but ultimately, at the end of the day, still just not into him. And he's a secondary villain, and it's like the villain before the big villain, but they're never getting to that next movie. This is like the movie that sets up the Justice League, and then obviously it feels like there was going to be another one after that, and there's so much like stuff online about that. But that's the movie's biggest problem, is that still Steppenwolf sucks. He's a big CGI nothing, and they're fighting a big CGI nothing battle in the middle of nowhere, where you had the Whedon cut that tried to add little things here and there to make it more interesting. You had Zack Snyder's version that just kind of went all in on it being like a comic book, like video game, just crazy time. And I think that the movie adds so much like wow and rah and music and special effects and character moments to a battle that they're fighting that ultimately is just kind of like, it's like not yet the dark side battle. It's not yet their big like team up thing. Which, all right, I guess I should get to that. I think the problem I had the most with the Snyder cut, as much as I found it enjoyable, is that it was 4 hours long and I still didn't get enough of Superman or Batman. I say Batman because I'm extremely biased. Batman's like my favorite thing, one of my favorite comic things. I've been thinking about Batman every day since I was 6 years old. So that's my problem. But with Superman, the way I look at it is like, this is, I especially considering now it's probably not going forward, or maybe it is, who knows. This is kind of like a trilogy where Superman was the anchor point. Superman was the character entering this world. You were kind of along for the ride. And then Batman vs. Superman, he's still kind of like this, it kind of felt like a sequel to Man of Steel, but they started to lose the thread. And now in this one, Superman is a concept. Superman is an execution. Like, he's a thing. He's way less of a character. I feel like even with this cut, with the added stuff, Superman said like 3 things, and I really, really miss that. I like Henry Cavill as Superman, but I still haven't seen enough of it. And I think Justice League, I know he was dead for like 3/4 of the movie, but like, I just wish there was a little more. And Batman was alive the whole time, and Batman didn't have much. I'm glad they took out some of the shittier Batman moments, which looking back now, just like like hindsight's 2020. Just looking back, like the way they would integrate little like Richard Donner themes, some Danny Elfman Batman music, different Batman scores, kind of just felt like pandering, like fan service. Like they didn't earn those moments and they threw it in because they knew that the movie was kind of messy. So they're like, let's give them this because dumb people like Jake, who really has strong emotional reactions to musical cues, will like it more. So I'm actually glad that the music was more low key this time. But again, yeah, just wanted more from those characters. The heavyweights, the anchor points of this whole Justice League DC thing. I found that a shame. But what I will say really, really worked with Superman was him coming back and the whole thing and the music. Just, I love that stuff. And then just the voiceovers from Pa Kent and Jor-El, like back and back, like saying the things to him, the lines that had kind of been ingrained to him in Man of Steel, and just having them echo together, which is something that the movies never really messed with, but like having them just next to each other, ooh, that's good. That just like gives me like shivers. But I guess now let's get to the last thing, the ending chunk of the movie. This stuff essentially tacked on to the end after the, after credit scene with Lex Luthor and Deathstroke. This for me, and I think what it should be, is, Zack Snyder and his team, because, it's not just him behind these things. I want to emphasize that. Like, yes, it's his name, it's blah, 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 but a lot of people work really hard on this stuff. But to me, it felt like for this last thing, it was like, we got a bunch of money. Somehow they're letting us do this. Let's just like add in a cool little extra thing. People really like the Nightmare Batman thing from Batman vs. Superman. So let's play on that a little. Let's give them a little more. And that was cool. Comics for the last 20 years, 20, 30 years, I don't even know at this point, have very much been taking all of these established characters where all these people know these backstories and just they kind of go like, oh, what if this character did this with this character, but instead of this character being like this time he's like this, and then this character's over here. Like just messing around, experimenting, having fun with these concepts, with these monoliths. And this last scene kind of felt like that. Obviously, you have like the Batman facing off with the Superman thing, but the biggest thing, of course, is Batman and the Joker, the Jared Leto Joker, which, gotta say, man, I did not like his Joker at all. Like, not even an inch, dude. I mean, maybe like a tiny bit, no. But here, it's much better. And how he does it, he doesn't overdo it. He does it in a weird way, still in a weird Jared Leto way, but it was good for what it was. And the small dialogue exchange between them, I thought was cool. Is it like the definitive Batman versus Joker conversation? I don't think so. I know some people are thinking that. I don't think so. Maybe on screen, yeah. But it was cool. It was just fun. It was like Batman looks at him and says the F word, and then like you find out Harley Quinn is dead, and like Joker for a second seems like Batman actually got him to shut up, and that was cool. Just the fact that they play with that stuff, I think there's room for like an interesting little thesis paper on that. It's cool. Maybe it's not that deep, but still, I like it. The thing, though, with this whole last scene, I still found myself disappointed because I thought this was a good opportunity, and this could have went two ways, and they went one way. You could go the way where it's like, let's just give them a little more, and it's really cool, and it could set up another movie if it actually ever happened, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. I would have liked the opposite, where they went the other way and said, hey, this isn't happening anymore. Let's really tie this off with a bow. Now, yes, if they could only have the money to make one or two scenes, what could they possibly have done to wrap this all up? I don't know for sure. I don't make movies. I'm just watching them. But I would have liked to have seen something a little bit more definitive, some sort of, maybe even like a cool, just quick conclusion to Batman's nightmare, so to speak. Instead, what you have is Batman waking up from the nightmare and like, ta-da, it's actually Ben Affleck now, not an alcoholic. Look at him. Good for him. Happy for him. I just love Ben Affleck very much. But you see a cape in the air and you're like, holy shit, this is it. It's perfect because it would have been, right? Like it would have been, yes, Superman and Batman squaring off in this nightmare universe. Batman is still haunted. Batman's trauma is still there, which in that nightmare scene, they do the three little notes from BVS. The ming, ming, ming. It's kind of like Batman's trauma echoing through two movies. I like that. Anyway, the thing is that you see a cape come out of the sky and you're like, oh, here we go. They squared off in this nightmare universe. It was Bruce's nightmare. He woke up and here flies down Supes and they talk and they say, yeah, dude, we got to do this Justice League thing. And then perfect little ending tied off in a bow. But instead they gave us fucking Martian Manhunter. No disrespect to him at all. I mean, that's awesome. But I think if they wanted to really just kind of goodbye this thing or thank you for this thing or anything like that, tie this off, a conversation between Batman and Superman once more as a very different two people could have been really cool. That for me is just kind of longing for what could have been or what could have been wrapped up with this. But like I said, I still think this is kind of a win overall. Like it's nice that this is out there and it's a better version of a movie that I think still at the end of the day has script issues. As much as I have an issue with that end stuff, it's like a cohesive movie with everything kind of filled out. You understand why things are going down. Yeah, maybe you need to have a little extra prior knowledge, but another thing, another interpretation, another presentation of characters that we all grew up loving is a win for the universe. But that's how I'm feeling on this. Like I said with you guys earlier, I would love to know what you're thinking because like this is a cat. Whoa. I really want to know what you're thinking because like this is an interesting topic. I don't think there should be any, fighting about this like people do on social media just because, like, look, a creator and a team and like a movie got another second chance. Some money was raised for charity. Yeah. So like I was saying, let me know what you think about this. There's so much you could say. I would love to know what you want from a possible next movie. Or are you happy that this is just kind of over, cleaned up, and done? Like, yes, it's not going forward, but at least we have this better version now. That's how I'm looking at it, but I want to know where you're coming from. So let's talk. Anything you got at all for me, I want to hear it down in the comments, as long as it's civil, of course. Clicking the like button, though, if you do that, that helps me. I'm just over here trying to talk about stuff I love. So if you appreciate that, thanks for sticking around. If you're new, maybe hit the notification bell for my uploads because I don't spam you. I only put out a video like once a week or so, but I'm Jake Baldino. Thanks for watching. You can subscribe because of video games.